Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Slate demo series on Deliver Best Practices. We have a great crew joining us today. In fact, not just one or two presenters, but five. Megan, Brett, Dylan, Sarah, and Rachel from our Slate Communications team will be joining us to talk about all things Deliver. I'm going to have them each introduce themselves when they present. Got a lot of topics to cover. So I'm going to pass it right over to Megan Tweet to kick us off.
Wonderful. Hey, everyone. My name is Megan Tweet, and I'm a Slate Communications Strategist here at Carnegie. I'm excited to kick things off and talk to you about how to develop a communication plan. Planning a communication campaign can be a daunting task with so many communications going out, running for months at a time. There's a lot to consider. So it can be helpful to start off with a single document, what we're going to call a communication plan. It can be like an Excel file, a spreadsheet, anywhere where you can lay out all the communications that are going out and when. So I will share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is an example of our communications plans. You'll see each column kind of lays out one piece of the puzzle. Here's where you can name your deliverables. You can lay out your approximate send dates. If you're running on a drip campaign, you can lay out the drip days here. Here's where you'll lay out your topics. You can list a call to action, the audience, who you're sending these communications to. If you're using any segmentation or liquid markup, content blocks, any kind of customization, there's a place to list that out here as well. You can lay out like the format of the email you'll be using and any other notes or pieces that you need to grab. So this is kind of what we use to lay out all of your communications in this plan. We find that about like anywhere from 10 to 20 emails per campaign will give your students like a well-rounded, thorough look at your institution and provide enough points of contact for them to take the next action step. Once you've put this plan together, it's time to go out and start kind of collecting all the pieces to the puzzle. First, you'll want to identify the populations of students that you're targeting, whether that be prospects, inquiries, maybe it's a yield campaign, a transfer campaign, something else entirely. Once you determine the population or to whom you're sending these emails, you'll be ready to start to put together the content for these messages. From this point, then you can start to take stock of existing content, photos, scour your school's website to get a sense of voice. Perhaps your marketing office has a copywriter or a communications specialist in-house that can do this for you. But this is a stage where you'll want to put pen to the paper and write out copy for each message in your campaign. And here it pays to be as specific as possible. So write out subject lines, sender names, gather photos for each specific email so that when you get to the building stage, you're not left with questions. At this time, you'll also want to coordinate with other communications offices or, take stock of what is currently going out. You can pop into Deliver and see if you have current communications running to these students that you're targeting. You just want to make sure that you're not double emailing the same students, providing them with frequent communications and redundant content. With all of that in place, then you can start to build out your campaign. Determine the roles and populations, build out the communications in Deliver. You can set up the recipient list using configurable joins. You'll send out tests and get approvals from any necessary parties. You may even want to set up reports to be able to track the performance and engagement of your emails for the duration of the campaign. Once everything is set and approved, you can schedule your messages and let the campaign run its course. From here, I'll pass it on to Brett to talk about our next topic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brett Bieber, and I'm a Slate Communications Strategist here at Carnegie. We're going to briefly overview population timestamp days and how they function within Slate. A population is a group of records with attributes that are assigned a common label through population rules in the rules editor. Populations can include person records, application records, or dataset records, and these records can be included in multiple populations at the same time. Now, these populations are driven by rules, and rules are a set of criteria or filters that a student must meet in order to pass through to a population. Once all criteria or filters have been created, then select which population you'll be assigning these records to. Population timestamp days are one of the foundational filters used when creating a communication campaign. Using this filter, which is available in both local and configurable joins, timestamp days narrows down students that have only been in a selected population for any X amount of days. Timestamp days is an exact metric, and so only students who have been in a population for exactly the amount of days selected will be eligible to receive the communication. When setting up your deliver windows, it's advisable to select every day of the week. If a student is in the population for 5 days and they are now eligible to receive the mailing, but sends are not set up for the weekends, the student will not receive the communication on the following Monday, as they have not been in the population for exactly 5 days. The population timestamp days shine when creating multi-communication drip campaigns. A drip campaign is a communication channel, such as email, that continuously runs over a set period, and anyone who meets the criteria of the campaign begins receiving messages for as long as all criteria are met. This means that we can turn on a set of 10 or 15 mailings with unique population timestamp day filters used within each mailing query, and then students will receive communications autonomously during the effective date ranges of the mailings. With that, I'll pass to Dylan.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brett. My name is Dylan. I am a Slate Strategist Associate here at Carnegie, and I'll be walking us through how to launch a campaign. So Brett touched on populations and rules. When launching a campaign, that is priority number one, is to establish your population. To do that, you will go from your main Slate hub here, go to database, and then populations. For the sake of this video, I will be using the same two examples that Brett showed for this senior search population. But when creating a new population, you will want to folder it and name it as appropriate. And then for the scope will match the base of the rule, which we'll get to in just a second. But a simple way to figure this out is if a student has already applied, the scope will be application. If they have not, the scope will be person. Simple as that. Once it's done, it'll look like this. For the rules, same thing with creating a new rule, name and folder as appropriate. We tend to always build our rules in configurable joins. If your institution does not use configurable joins, I would encourage you to attempt to become familiar with those. And then category records, base, again, application or person, depending on the group that you're wanting to target. For exclusivity groups, you can add those if necessary. Students can and will be in multiple populations, so we tend to not use those. And then you'll want to keep this as inactive. Once you're in the population, some kind of standard recipient list filters that we add are if communicating via email exists, not deceased, and then not in a test record or opt-out tag, and then the entry term, type, and status. Now, if you're wanting to target students who are, you're trying to push them to deposit or register for orientation, whether that's yield or anti-melt, you'll add the application round, admit term, and then the most recent decision. So if it's yield that you're targeting, most recent decision of admit, and then anti-melt, most recent decision is deposit, or whatever your institution might use. Once this is ready to rock and roll, you will activate it. As you can see, this one is done here. And once the population and rule are active, students start on day 0. So going back to the same mailing Brett was in, say you activate the population and rule on a Monday, and you're wanting to start the campaign on Tuesday, you would just do day 1 here and then send it on its way. And with that, I will pass it to Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dylan. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Story, and I'm a Slate Strategist Associate at Carnegie. Today, I will share some high-level insights on how to best refresh a campaign. So as you finish out one cycle and prepare your communications for the upcoming year, it's extremely important to ensure that all current mailings have concluded. It is best to utilize start and end dates when originally scheduling your content, as this will then ensure all mailings have concluded within your desired timeline. This also allows you then the opportunity to refresh any outdated copy and make any other changes needed. So there are two ways to kind of ensure that all mailings have completed. First would be navigating to your message mailing here and ensuring that your status is completed, in progress, something along those lines. No running, ongoing, or scheduled mailings. Additionally, you can navigate to your campaigns view and search for your desired population, once again ensuring that no mailings are currently running. Once you have then confirmed that all mailings have completed, you can make a copy of any mailing you'd like to see within your refresh campaign, just navigating to your old message and copying mailing here. It's also very important to archive those older mailings to keep any of your fresh copies organized and ready for the upcoming cycle. Again, kind of two ways to do this. You can archive either through each individual mailing. However, if you are wanting to archive several mailings at once, you also can control-click and apply actions here, batch archiving all at once. So a few different areas or options there. So with older mailings archived now, it's time to make any adjustments to your upcoming communications. So within any of those copied mailings, make sure to review any needed updates to either body of your message, any subject lines, center lines, anything that may need adjusting there. You'll also want to review over your recipient list to ensure any filters or exports are updated. And then finally, if you are utilizing UTM codes, you will want to make any necessary updates here as well. Once you're happy with any edits within your mailing message, we'll want to make sure that these mailings are going to be sending to the correct group of students within your desired population. So we're going to navigate to our database to our rules editor. Within your rules editor, search for your particular rule. Once found, we'll go ahead and head up to this edit button here and make sure to inactivate this rule. For the purpose of today, I will cancel out, but make sure you're saving both in this pop-up window as well as your overall rule here. Now that the rule is inactivated, we'll want to pull any remaining students from that connected population here. To achieve this, we'll select New Query. Once in your new query, make sure to add an export. RefID is a great one to achieve and to use for this. From here, you're going to hit Run Query and make sure that we're dropping down to that retroactive refresh, exporting to pull out all of those students within that current population. Then you'll navigate to your populations via your database and just watch this number here to ensure that it pops down to 0. Once you've seen that this number has hit 0, you can then make any necessary changes to your rule, updating those entry terms, student types, whatever may be needed there. Always remember to hit the save button at the very end after making any of your edits. And then with all of your changes made, you're ready to go ahead and restart your campaign. So after a final check over your rule and after a final check over any of your new mailings, you'll go ahead and come back up to your edit button and reactivate this mailing. Once again, clicking save in 2 different locations. From here, you're once again going to follow those same steps of pulling that new query and making sure that we're retroactively refreshing once again to pull in all of those new students to this population. From there, timestamp day will begin that next day. And then once again, we're just wanting to make sure that you're navigating back to these mailings, any new mailings here, making sure that they're ready to schedule and making sure that we're utilizing those start and end dates. Next, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Rachel.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, my name is Rachel Yates. I'm a Slate communication strategist, and today we're talking about why naming conventions matter. So by standardizing your naming conventions, not only do you make your life easier, but you create an evergreen instance. Should anyone inherit your work, they would know exactly what everything is for. There are 5 areas in Slate where having standardized naming conventions are important: folder structure, email names, UTMs, rules, and populations. So let's start with folder structure. We want to keep our parent or main folder very general and utilize subfolders for our emails to specific populations. So let's take a look at undergrad communications here. If we housed all of our undergraduate drip campaigns in one general folder, our subfolders may be first year app gen, first year senior search, first year yield, transfer app gen, transfer yield, etc. Having all of these in one general folder with specific subfolders will keep your deliver module more organized and transparent. By separating out each of the individual campaigns, you can also report on email performance and campaign metrics. This is incredibly helpful when assessing the success of your email communications. So here's a quick look at what that looks like. Email naming is also important within your folder structure. It's our best practice to name an email #01 senior search, for example. So if we were to name this, we would do 01 senior search and then folder it in the appropriate folder and subfolder. So here we have undergraduate communications and first year senior search, and click save. Including the 0 before the 1 will allow for Slate to sort our emails in numerical order within our performance report, allowing us to see how the performance changes over the course of the campaign. By including senior search in the title, we know the audience of the campaign and it's going to prospects within the campaign. All right, as you build your email campaigns, make sure to enable and add UTMs. UTM stands for Urchin Tracking Module, and they're added to the end of URLs that are in your mailing should someone click on them. They're another way to track the effectiveness of your campaigns. In Slate, there are 5 that you need to complete: source, medium, term, content, and campaign. So our source here will be Slate because it's coming out of Slate. Medium will be email because we're sending an email. Campaign will be your campaign name. So for this specific email, it will be senior search. Our term is the topic of the individual email. If your email is about campus life, your term could be campus life. This is really something to discuss internally to be able to recognize what the topic of the email is and balance it with your call to action. So for this one, I'm going to do fast facts. Content is the campaign plus the email number. So for senior search 1, I would do senior search 01. Again, you can add sections to a report to pull data based on UTMs. From a form response base, you can pull on UTM campaign to see how many forms were submitted from your emails. Because you add UTM content, you add an export to see how many forms were from each email. And going even further, because you added 01, 02, 03, they're going to be nice and organized in your report, all because of simple naming conventions. And then finally, we're going to talk about rules and populations. Having a set standard for how you name rules and populations, as previously mentioned, will be beneficial to you and your team. You only need to have 1 rule per campaign, not per graduation year, as rules can be updated and refreshed. With this in mind, again, we recommend having something clear, concise, and easy to identify who's in that population rule. Our formula for rules is set plus your campaign name plus population. So for this, it would be set to senior search population. Down here, our formula again is campaign name plus population, or senior search population. Both of these tell you exactly who is being pulled into the rule and who is in the population, again, by simple naming conventions. I am going to pass it back to Nick to wrap us up.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rachel and team here. Should you have any questions at all about anything related to Deliver, Communications, Slate, we'd love to partner with you. So you can reach us at carnegiehighered.com, and we'd love to start that conversation. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.